Imagine a city. What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Maybe it's a lively city center, a market where you can find anything you desire. Or maybe it's narrow streets lined with little shops on every corner. That's how we want cities to be. But the reality often looks quite different. It's hard to imagine today, but for most of human history, cities actually were built like the ones we just pictured. They usually grew around a central point, often a town square, and expanded naturally from there. Getting around was simple. Most people walked. A few wealthier ones rode on horses or carriages, but since everything moved at a slow pace, there wasn't much need for wide roads or separate sidewalks. Everyone shared the same space, and people simply looked out for one another. It all worked surprisingly well, with lively squares and cities made for people. That is, until the car arrived. In the beginning, town squares were places where people came together. They played a central role in social, economic, and cultural life. Their design was meant for pedestrians. Fountains next to cafes, all shaded by trees on a hot day. Take Charlottenplatz in Vienna, for example. It might not have been the most glamorous spot in town, but its purpose was clear. The square belonged to people. Shops lined the edges, and if a carriage happened to pass through, it did so slowly and carefully. The idea of vehicles rushing through there at 50 kilometers an hour would have sounded like pure fantasy to someone back then. But today, it looks like this. That's what happened to countless plazas around the world. Potsdamer Platz in Berlin, Times Square in New York, Place de la République in Paris. They all share similar stories. Some of them have been partly reclaimed in recent years, by reducing car lanes, planting trees, or simply giving the space back to people. But in many cities, the scars of the past still remain. Stuttgart, Germany, home of Mercedes-Benz and Porsche. The city in southern Germany was originally founded as a stud farm, but today there's not much grassland left. In the inner city, what used to be open space is now mostly a vast desert of asphalt. Where people once strolled, two highway-like roads now cut straight through the city center. And the place where they intersect? That's right here, Charlottenplatz. This plaza is a perfect example of how a single-minded focus on moving cars can tear apart the fabric of a city. It actually inspired this whole video. I had always known Charlottenplatz as this massive intersection, until one day I asked myself, why is this called a plaza? I came up with all kinds of theories, but when I finally looked it up, I was shocked. That huge intersection is the plaza. Or rather, was, because before its redesign in the 1960s, it looked like this. People walking freely across the space, shops and public buildings along the edges, trees in the middle, just like you'd imagine a real plaza. But then, in 1962, a decision was made. In line with the zeitgeist of the time, Charlottenplatz was completely redesigned, to make more room for cars. The trees disappeared. The tram was pushed underground. And the cars? They were given two separate levels to keep traffic flowing smoothly. Pedestrians, on the other hand, had to move a level up or down just to cross what had once been a lively public square. What used to be a center of social life and economic activity turned into nothing more than a thoroughfare for motor vehicles. This is problematic for a number of reasons. I could list countless examples of how car traffic has damaged our cities. From air and noise pollution to land consumption and excessive costs. The list goes on and on. But there's one aspect I want to focus on today: safety. A city should first and foremost be a place to live, to work, and to enjoy free time. And that's exactly how it should be built. Ideally, you should be able to commute to work, go to the gym, stop by the supermarket, and get back home, without putting yourself in danger. But crossing intersections like this one is dangerous. Just about 200 meters southeast of Charlottenplatz, we find a smaller, but equally risky intersection. And here, unfortunately, we can see firsthand how car-centric planning directly affects the safety of pedestrians. On May 2nd, 2025, a tragic accident happened right here. It's still unclear exactly why, but on that day, the driver of an SUV coming from Charlottenplatz lost control of his vehicle and crashed into a group of people, killing one and injuring 7 others. There are certainly many possible reasons why something like this could happen. But one thing is clear: car-centric design. I don't want to talk about what could be improved at this specific intersection. I just want to make a point. Designing our cities solely around the movement of cars doesn't just kill public spaces and plazas. It kills us as well. That is why, in many cities around the world, there has been a shift in how we think about public spaces, especially plazas. Countless examples show how space has been reassigned to serve people rather than vehicles. And Stuttgart isn't an exception. While there's still a lot more that could be done, even at Charlottenplatz, small signs of change can be seen. The first major improvement came in the year 2000, when crosswalks were finally added to the intersection. About a decade later, bike lanes followed. But besides some paint on the asphalt, not much has changed since then. It's a common pattern. Cities are willing to make improvements, as long as they don't have to take away any car lanes or parking spaces. And so, while bike infrastructure technically exists, it often looks out of place. I wonder why no one is using that. In my opinion, so-called plazas, which today are nothing more than giant intersections, serve as a perfect reminder of what too many cars can do to a city. A reminder of what our cities once were, and what happens when we set the wrong priorities in urban planning. A reminder that we shouldn't just accept our cities the way they are, but realize how much we can change them, how they look, how livable they are, and how safe they can be. And most of all, a reminder that we all should stand up and fight for cities that are well designed, human-centered, and truly worth living in. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you are interested in learning more about urban mobility in the future. Also, check out my other videos, like this one where I've explained everything about the dolmuş, a unique transport system in Turkey. See you there!